So, what's the most daring thing you've ever done? I mean, have you jumped out of an airplane, gone out for a fancy dinner all by yourself, stood up to your boss or maybe your mother? Solo travel. How about falling in love? Or how about this one? When you're thinking about your desires, your goals, your dreams, do you ever pause to consider what they want from you? You see, I think that might be one of the most daring things we can do. We've been taught, conditioned, culturized to get really clear about what we want, to be able to paint, a mind picture of it. Because if we're vague about what we want, we get vague results. You've heard that. And after the dare dream, decide to master class. And if you haven't seen the whole master class, I'll drop the link down here in the description. But after the master class, I got a message saying, "Oh, well, that is just manifesting mumbo jumbo." You know, okay, but maybe if you're the one thinking that, or you are also thinking that, you might just want to stay with me here and get the rest of the story. So, yes, getting crystal clear is crucial, but it may not be for the reason we often hear. Now, think about this. I mean, think about the industry, the whole industry that surrounds finding the love you want. I mean, that's a huge industry. eHarmony was famous back in the day. They were among the early online dating sites, but they were famous for using this elaborate, comprehensive questionnaire and an algorithm to match candidates. The questionnaire required each candidate, you had to get very specific and very clear about what they wanted. And a lot of them complained that it's just too hard to get that clear. Some of them complained that it felt limiting to get that clear. And a lot of them fell back on, well, I'll know it when I see it. I might definitely have some experience with that one. But at one point in my own career, I had several clients whose primary desire was a healthy, loving, mutual kind of relationship. And so, yeah, we started with what that meant to each of them. And we created this, comprehensive picture of what qualities and characteristics were important to each of them, and then began drilling down into what each of those meant. I mean, what did they look like? How would you recognize them? So that's really important. So, for example, Lissa. Oh, and by the way, all the stories I ever share, they are with permission. I do change the names, and I just kind of do that on the spur of the moment. So if you say, "What was that story you told about so and so?" I may not remember the name I called out of the hat at that point in time, but the names are changed. Okay. Um, so what did I just say? Lissa. Okay. So when Lissa said she wanted a man who was financially stable, I asked questions that led her through a self-exploration. Self-exploration. Okay, here's some of them. How did she define financial stability? I mean, did he need a specific amount of money? Did she believe that a man who didn't make much money could be financially stable? What about his spending habits and his overall philosophy? Did that factor in? What was okay for her and what wasn't? And then, you know, what about the finances in her childhood? Had there been any setbacks? And if there were, how did she feel about them both then and now? Was that related to how her parents handled them? Was it scary when it happened? I mean, was that why financial stability was important to her? Now, I asked that flat out right. Why is financial stability important to you? I ask each of, I ask actually, that came up with each of them, so I guess I asked each of them. But anyway, one of them she rolled her eyes. Yeah, she just rolled her eyes like, come on, why wouldn't it be? You need to ask. Ask yourself, be willing. And honestly, it's a bigger priority for some people than it is for others. Just because it's a big priority for you doesn't mean it's a big priority for everyone else. And that could mean you could fall for some guy who doesn't care anything about financial stability. This is why we ask. We ask ourselves. And then I also ask about her own finances as an adult. You know, how were they? What kind of shape were they in? And so picture this. We're just going down, 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 just cutting through layers of her life and her beliefs and her conditioning and her own personal habits, plus society's rules. Yep. Until she finally landed at a place that felt foundational. It felt stable, solid. It felt like home. And that's defined as the place or the state of being where you feel safe, secure, grounded, accepted, and loved just as you are. And she wanted those feelings of being grounded and at home to be mutual. She wanted them to basically share the philosophy and the definition and the picture of what that looked like. And when she got there, where she felt like she was standing on solid ground, it was like, huh, now I know what I'm looking for. And the realization was that now she could cut through, temporary chemistry to long-term possibility. So the next time she met someone, she felt that instant chemistry, she knew to pause and do a little self-assessment first. Yeah. See, the style of questioning, it's actually imperative for every desire, every type of desire you want to turn into a reality, not just romance. And you can do this self-questioning. You can do it with yourself. You can do it with a coach or a therapist, whatever you choose, because you have to, regardless of what you choose, you have to become willing to be completely honest. No sugarcoating, nothing left vague. Keep going until it really feels like there are no more questions to ask and you feel like you're on solid ground. I'll say it again. If we put out vague desires, we get vague results. That makes sense, right? Makes sense to you? Okay. Well, that's a great start. But what comes next? Because most of us were not taught to consider what that goal or relationship wants for itself. I mean, we've been taught things like manifesting is magnetizing our own desires, or that achieving our goals is all about doing hard work and having, firm boundaries and staying focused. You know, what's rarely said, and none of those things are bad, by the way, but what's rarely said is that turning your desires into your reality is a collaborative co-creation. It takes two. You and your desire working together. Okay. So let's pick up where we left off and move from, I believe it was Lissa, to Diana. Diana was also looking for a healthy, loving relationship. And her initial description included being fit and healthy. That was really, really important to her. So we went through the same process of, drilling down and wrapping that desire in lots of detail. And then we got to the flip. The flip. So I asked Diana to imagine she was standing here and this man was standing here across the room from each other. And I asked her to pretend that she moved over into his place and was looking back across the room at her. What did he see? What did he see when he looked at her? What did he want for himself? And when he looked at her, how good a match was she for his desires? So I asked her to, jot down a few things that she imagined that he might be thinking and feeling, a few of the qualities and characteristics he might be looking for himself. So, she sat still a moment. She scribbled a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And then she just threw her pencil across the room. Just threw it. He's not looking for me. He doesn't even see me. He's looking for someone who already shares his interest and his habits and his priorities. I love lolling around in my pajamas and reading. I hate exercising. I hate it. We will end up annoyed with each other all the time. Oh my God, he will probably try to turn me into a project and fix me, and I am not anybody's fixer-upper. Oh my God, the years I've spent chasing this dream that was never going to make me happy. What an epiphany. And I've used looking for love as a vehicle to illustrate this principle because it's easy to see and understand when we're talking about two people. But it really and truly applies to every single part of our lives, relationships, health, wealth, emotional health, every single thing. And, I had another lesson in that last year. Last year was a year of injury and illness for me. Now, there were some solid reasons, but you know what? I very sternly fought them. I fought them. Instead of asking what my mind and my body and mind needed from me, I tried to tell them what they needed to do. You should do this. You need to do that. I didn't want to admit that my mind and body and emotions, my entire physical being, I didn't want to admit that they were beyond burned out because of some major long-term stress factors that I had not addressed, or at least not fully addressed. And well, as long as I'm confessing, I, I might as well admit that for years I had put more energy into denying and covering up that I was stressed and why, and pretending I was fine. I'm fine. I was putting a lot more energy there than into dealing with the causes of the stress. I mean, unseen, unfelt, unaddressed, and still affecting my life today. And when those dots started connecting and this picture started forming, I mean, seeing it kind of felt like getting kicked in the guts, like, oh, gosh, I can't believe I've missed this. It felt like everything I had ever tried to avoid was now demanding attention. Now. So this through line from old pain, old woundedness, old trauma, that through line was obvious. Couldn't miss it. Maybe that was the point. So back to the key question. Are you willing to consider what your desires want from you? Because here's what last year taught me. You can run and run and run, but if this desire is what you truly want, you cannot run from this part of the process. You must become willing to ask what this desire, this goal, this relationship, you must be willing to ask what it wants from you. And then you need to become willing to ask if that's something you're willing to give. But I'm actually getting ahead of myself right there. So we looked into why we want the things we want and what they actually represent to us. You can go back and watch those videos if you want. It's in the master class, and it's in the one of the shorter ones. I'll put those links in the description. And then we've also looked at the feelings that we're longing to create these feelings and why we want to create them. This step just flips all that upside down and reveals the often missing question, the one so few of us consider, at least not in a helpful or even healthy way. And it is, in my opinion, the best or one of the best ways to get a fresh perspective and start creating this bridge for turning our desires into our reality. So, if you will, let me end on another story, another personal one, because I've been talking about this one lately and you've heard it. And this is about my own misguided lifelong quest, and that is searching for the perfect house when what I really wanted was the feeling of home that had been lost in childhood. And I think I might have mentioned that I recently stumbled upon the perfect house. It checked all the boxes. It was attractive. It was an older, established neighborhood. My desired dream number of bedrooms and bathrooms, a porch. Oh my gosh, it had a wonderful porch. But even more than that, I had the opportunity to walk around. And the feeling of being at home, I mean, just totally peaceful, relaxed, just myself. The house and I were one, which I don't know, that might sound silly, but it really was that feeling. I mean, it all came together, and it was like euphoria. So, driving home, I'm bouncing in my seat like a little kid. It's like, my house, my house, I have found my house, just that euphoria, really. And then, oh yeah, wait, you know what? I need to ask that second question. My balloon got burst real fast. The very first request the house made of me was enough money to buy it, maintain it, love it, care for it. It was beyond my budget. It just was beyond my budget. And you want to talk about deflated? I mean, really, it was just like, I mean, it was the kind of moment that a friend describes as just wanting to crawl into bed and pulling the covers over. So I did, more or less. I think I did go lie down and just, had that moment. I let myself feel through all those feelings, and I cried and grieved and got mad, and I don't know who I was mad at, but I was mad and sad. And once all of that was up and out, and yes, I used tapping. You'll hear me talk about that a lot, but I used some tapping. But once it was all up and out, the beauty of the clear path ahead was so clear, so clear. Now, several things happened here, several things. In this collection of moments, seeing this house, feeling this home, getting euphoric, and then asking that second question, this bundle of all of that, I was clear like I never had been before about what I really wanted. Now, I've said before that what I wanted was the feeling of home. In this experience, I literally experienced that feeling, what it felt like. So it went from being intellectual, I want the feeling of home, to this is the feeling I want. What I felt here, this is what I want. So I got to experience the feeling and realize that it has to be created first from the inside out. That meant that I now had this personal healing path in front of me. If this was important to me, then I knew what I needed to heal. And that's what we'll talk about in the next video. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. So here's your self-work for this video, your mission, should you choose to accept it. Pick one desire, just one desire that you identified at the beginning, step one, one thing that you really want that you've now already put through the filter of why you want it, and you can at least intellectually express the feeling you want to get from it. Because as you can see with my house, you might need to do that again until you actually feel this. Because here's a little nugget for you. Clarity is an evolution, not a destination. Now, excuse me. Now imagine this desire and you standing at opposite ends of a room. And now you step across this imaginary room, stand in the shoes of this desire, whether it's a relationship, a goal, or whatever. Look back across the room at you. I mean, really look at you and see what that goal or relationship sees. Let yourself see what it sees when it looks at you. I mean, this desire, this goal or relationship, is it seeing what it wants for itself? Now, the answer is probably no, or it would already exist in your life, and you wouldn't be here trying to figure out how to bring it in. No shame in that. No shame in that. Conventional wisdom, it really does tell us to focus on what we want, to imagine it in great detail, create vision boards and, sticky note mantras all over, your house, reminders. And there's nothing wrong with any of that except that it ignores the truth that bringing our desires to fruition is a partnership, a collaborative, co-creative, symbiotic relationship between us and our dreams. We can't just order them into existence any more than we can order another person to like us or love us or to change to suit us. We have to create the foundation, the passageway, the bridge, the connection. Remember, if you've forgotten this one, let me remind you, everything you want and don't currently have, it already exists for you. That's how you're able to dream of it and desire it. You feel it out there for you. But it's outside your comfort zone right now. And that simply means that you have some healing to create your path if you so desire. Because our comfort zone tends to ignore this question. I mean, not because we're mean or selfish, but because considering what our desires want from us can feel really scary or uncomfortable. And we want, oh my gosh, we want to believe all our desires and dreams want us as much as we want them. Well, what if they do? And they're waiting for us to open the door, clear the way, and welcome them in. Right? And again, the classic example is meeting someone and having instant chemistry. And then, a few weeks or months or years down the road, we wonder what we ever saw in them. Of course, they're probably wondering the same thing about us, but we didn't actually clear the path. We didn't actually heal the way. We just snap judgment, snap. Like, oh, that kind of feels, oh, okay, we're just going to run with this, right? Become willing to look at yourself with fresh eyes from a different, new perspective. Become willing to see what your desire or dream actually sees when it looks at you, not what you wish it saw, because sometimes those are very different. So take some time after this video and get just raw and real with yourself. What does your desire want and need from you, and we'll talk about what to do with that in the next video. Bye for now, and see you in the next video.